So here we go again. I'm going to try this live video again after I was booted off earlier today. Ever since our live workshop on Wednesday, I've been thinking, where we talked about the 10 things that really successful owner trainers tend to have in common. So what I mean by successful owner trainers are owner trainers who tend to see success on the long term instead of just trying to kind of struggle to get traction with their training. So hi Christina, hi Heidi, we're here again live. Hopefully my phone doesn't crap out on me again. I get to actually do the live, because what I want to talk about today is this idea of what happens when our dogs fail to focus around distractions. And so if you were on my live earlier today, you're going to have heard a little bit of this, and I do apologize for that, but I'm hoping that a bunch of you are new and get to hear it for the first time. So when we say our dogs fail to focus around distractions, the first thing that we need to kind of talk about is, what do we mean by the dog failed to focus around distractions? And generally, I think what most of us mean is that our dogs fail to perform known cues in the presence of distractions. So they fail to sit on cue or leave it on cue or heel on cue or whatever it is that the behavior we think they know, they fail to do that. So they don't respond to the cue, right? So I say sit and the dog doesn't sit. Now, I want to give you a human example of this. When I have, so my husband and I, this spring, we bought a used Toyota Prius. And when I sat in it for the first time, you guys, I could not figure out how to make this car start or how to put it in drive. And I am a licensed driver. I've been driving since I was 16. I feel very strongly that I know the behavior of how to turn on and put a car in gear. If you had asked me before I sat down in the Prius if I, Kate Olson, know how to start a car and put it in gear, I would have said yes. That is a behavior I am fluent at. I know the cues that lead up to that. I know how the buttons and the ignitions work, and it's a behavior that I can generalize to new cars I've never driven before. I would have been very confident saying the behavior of turning on the car and putting it in gear is one that I know. And I sat down in this Prius and I looked at the buttons, and I seriously could not find the start button. And once I did find the start button, I could not figure out how to put the car in drive. And it is because this has happened to 80% of the people who drive my Prius have the same problem. They sit in the car and they go, okay, how do I make it go? And then it gets even worse when they want to put it in park. Putting it back in park is even harder than getting it to go in the first place. And these are all drivers who we would say know the behavior. Now, my point here is that I could not make the Prius go because it was too big a jump. It was a set of cues that I was not prepared for. There was nothing in my driving training, in my driving history, in my driving experience that adequately prepared me for that moment, to perform that behavior in that moment. And our dogs do this. This is the same thing that happens to our dogs. So a lot of times, so I talked about this on Wednesday. This was one of the things we talked about briefly in the live workshop. You can find the replay inside the Resource Center. I'll make sure that the link gets added into this video for those of you who need to see it. We talked about the quote where Steve White trains police dogs, and there's a quote where he said, "Dogs do not fail. They perform as trained." And then the second part of the quote, which I can't remember off the top of my head, is something about us not adequately preparing our dogs to perform behaviors in different environments. So when our service dogs in training, when we take them to a new environment or we work around a distraction and our dogs fail to perform their known cues, what that is information for us that somewhere in their training history, somewhere in their experience, there is a hole that has not adequately prepared them for this moment. So when we take our service dogs to the mall and they don't respond to known cues, or we struggle around distractions such as other dogs or other people or cats, or fill in the blank. I hope you guys are all thinking about all the things that distract your dogs, so that tomorrow when we do our live workshop part 2 tomorrow on Sunday, hopefully you have done that kind of assignment and you're thinking about the things that distract your dog. But when our dogs fail, it's because somewhere in their training history we have not prepared them. Now, what I see a lot of owner trainers do, and I myself have done this is a trap I fall into as well, is we don't adequately prepare them. Is we try to do it backwards. We take them to public and then we try to teach them to focus. We take them to a new location and then we try to teach them how to work around distractions. But what we actually need to do is prepare them ahead of time with the skills and the behaviors and the proofing and the generalizing protocols so that they're prepared and have a high likelihood of being successful in those new environments. And now I can hear you guys thinking, yes, okay, that makes sense, but how do I do that? Right? How do I prepare my dog more adequately for new environments? How do I prepare him so that I can go to new environment that he's never been to and have him generalize a behavior or focus around distractions or do all that stuff? And that is exactly what we're going to start talking about in tomorrow's live workshop. So right now we're doing the 4-part focus building workshop. These are live videos that we're doing them live, and then the replays stay up for you to review later if you're not able to make it live. We did part 1 on Wednesday, and if you haven't seen that, the replay is up and you can get your hands on that. And part 2 is going to be tomorrow, so Sunday the 20th at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time inside our free Facebook group, Train Your Service Dog with Confidence. And this is what we're going to start talking about. We're going to start talking about, okay, I understand that I need to prepare my dog ahead of time, so how do I do that? We're actually going to get into some of these. How do we proof behaviors? How do we prepare our dogs to work around distractions so that we can get and keep their focus in new environments where we actually need it, right? Because that's what I think a huge part of service dog training is getting the behaviors we need in all the different environments. All right, so I hope I see you there tomorrow night at our live, but if you can't make it, the replay will be up afterwards. And make sure that you head over to the Resource Center because that's where there are a couple of homework assignments waiting for you to get you started before tomorrow's workshop so that you can really hit the ground running with the information we talk about tomorrow night. All right, I'll see you guys all later. Have a great night.